Greetings Whovians and welcome to Timey Wimey Review. With it being the spooky Halloween season and the 20th anniversary of the revived era of Doctor Who, I thought I'll smash them together and review one of the most spookiest, probably scariest episodes, particularly if you first watched this as a child with the immortal line of "Are you my mummy?" Does these episodes still hold up? Hit the subscribe button, that'll really help out this channel as I review the Ninth Doctor two-part episodes, The Empty Child and The Doctor Dances, originally broadcast on BBC One in May 2005. Now, just in case you don't know the plot, the Ninth Doctor and Rose are pursuing a capsule through time and space. The capsule crash lands in London, and whilst the Doctor and Rose are investigating, they get separated when Rose sees a child up on a roof. The Doctor and Rose soon realise that they are at the height of the Blitz of war-torn London during World War II. With Rose hanging on by a balloon, she's actually involved in the middle of the Blitz, which was an amazing special effects, which I'll talk about later. She slips off the rope from the balloon and plunges to her death, only to be saved by Captain Jack Harkness, who claims he knows where the capsule is and will sell it at the right price. Meanwhile, the Ninth Doctor comes across Nancy, a young woman who is looking after the homeless children in London. But there's one child that Nancy doesn't want to look after, as she proclaims that if you get touched by this child, you'll become like him, a gas mask wearing zombie. The Ninth Doctor also comes across Dr. Constantine, who claims a similar statement where all of his patients are also having the gas mask fused to their body and also are not dead. They're in like a zombie-like state, all crying out for their mummy. It's soon going to be apparent that it will be a pandemic spreading across London and then the world, and only the Ninth Doctor and Rose and hopefully Captain Jack can stop it. Looking back on this two-parter, it was clearly like this was the blueprint for the Stephen Moffat era in years to come. It has all the scares that this is what Stephen Moffat does at his best. For me, character writing and the scares, particularly the scares, if anything. And I'm glad that Russell T Davies gave him the chance to write for Doctor Who, because the last time Stephen Moffat did write anything for Doctor Who, it was for the charity special, the comic relief special, The Curse of Fatal Death, which is more in a comedic, light tone, a love letter to classic Doctor Who. So it could have been just a one and done, and that was it, and times would have changed dramatically if that was the case. But here, and again, this is probably with the tutelage of Russell T Davies to a certain extent, we get a nice sort of slow burner and character development throughout the story, throughout this two-parter, of just soaking in the atmosphere of war-torn London, the Doctor investigating everything, Rose sort of separating herself from the Doctor for quite some time, and all under a backdrop of horrors that we see every day or have basically generationally have seen or heard about or read about in schools. So it was just a right pitch to have all of these elements come together for this two-parter. But at the sheer heart of the story is the development of the Ninth Doctor, Rose, and a new element into their duo, Captain Jack Harkness. So this is the first appearance of John Barrowman as Captain Jack, with Rose asking the Doctor for some Spock, bit of sort of technology, and probably a little bit more in the sort of look department, I suppose, or charm department. Here comes Captain Jack swooning in, and yeah, right out of the gate, yeah, you've got the charm, you got the looks, you got the tech. And yeah, I think John Barrowman, particularly in the early years, sort of balanced it really well, in terms of being this 51st century guy. Again, nice sort of bit of backstory of like he's been conned himself. He's lost his memories and wants to get them back. Which does it get resolve that one? I can't remember. You're gonna have to let me know in the comments, my fellow Whovians. Say what you will about the actor, but the character was definitely an instant hit for Doctor Who, and just came at the right time, and didn't I didn't feel like it outstayed his welcome either. It wasn't like he didn't turn into the Captain Jack show, even though that was the sort of the bigger plans really, into the sort of future and spin-offs of Doctor Who. But here, I just felt like he knew his place. It was still the Doctor, still the companion, and then Captain Jack. So that trio does work really well in the subsequent episodes. And I also like Rose Tyler's character in this two-parter as well. It kind of just takes the character up another level, um, with her being like this sort of faithful companion, but obviously sort of adding sort of extra feelings, and humanizing her a bit more. So yeah, she is being a bit flirtatious with Captain Jack, and I think you can start to sort of see the affections of her with the Ninth Doctor start to sort of bubble up as well, as well as the Ninth Doctor having the affections for Rose. Um, I'm not a fan of the full romance that kind of goes forward in season two. I think it's a bit too much, but I can understand where they were coming from there. But here, the flirt. I kind of like the more playful flirtatiousness of Rose, and the interactions of the Ninth Doctor and the dancing. So let's talk about that. So yeah, the sort of crux of the episode, I think, from the Doctor dances is that scene where the Ninth Doctor is trying to resonate concrete, and Rose is talking about dancing, which is all about sex. We all know that. But I just like the playful tones that was written. There was some great dialogue from Stephen Moffat here about that, with the Doctor saying, over the 900 years, I have danced, and Rose sort of turning up the music and show me the moves types of things, and the Doctor being all coy with that. It's I know there's a lot of people out there that don't like the sort of romance side of the Doctor. But here again, in a sort of playful, flirtatious way, I think it just works really well. It was just a nice sort of change of pace. And going back to Rose as well, with her sort of having this extra element on there, it kind of reminds me of Ace in the Curse of Fenric, where and I think actually it does crop up a little bit in a nice little callback, I feel, in this episode as well. So in Curse of Fenric, Ace is saying, I can distract the guards, and the 10th Doctor is saying, how? And she basically says, I'm not a little girl anymore, Doctor. Leave it to me. And Rose, at the Doctor in Doctor Dances, says, "Oh, I can distract the guards," and then Captain Jack saying, "I don't think you're his type." There was nice little callbacks there. I feel like, it's Ace walked so Rose can run, in a sense. This two-parter, though, is certainly the Christopher Eccleston show. I think he's become a lot more, or very comfortable with the Ninth Doctor role. I mean, he nailed it from the start, but it just basically blossomed, and this was the crescendo of it all, before his departure in a few episodes down the line. But here it was just felt like a vindication for the Ninth Doctor. But first, his interactions with all the other characters. Dr. Constantine, Richard Wilson was amazing as Dr. Constantine, a very sort of small role, but a very memorable role at the same time. And I don't know if it's you, but every time I get a cough or feel unwell, I have been unwell quite recently. And when I was having a coughing fit, I thought I was going to be gouging out on a gas mask myself. Every time I have a cough, I always immediately now think about that scene where you see the gas mask coming out of Dr. Constantine's mouth. It's a great visual, a scary visual, a fantastic Doctor Who scary visual. Same with the Doctor's interactions with all the other characters. So, like Nancy, for example, played by Florence Hoth, brilliantly played by Florence Hoth. Just sort of not being too sort of forceful with her in terms of figuring out what was going on. I think that's nice sort of pacing on there, but slowly getting to know her and figuring it out. or I think he tried to figure it out, but just that alien sort of part of concept, I think, sort of missing. I think it was he finally got it together, but it took a while for him to sort of twig on that the Jamie and Nancy are mother and son. But again, yeah, Nancy was a very sort of complex character and just brought well to screen by obviously the writing by Stephen and the performance by Florence. Particularly the scene where obviously she nearly gets caught by the owner of the house of stealing her food, and she pulls out the ace in the pack of, I know what you've been doing with the butcher's boy, so why don't we just leave it as that? And yeah, there was a little elements in the writing for that, like and again with the doctors sort of just sat at the table with the children and interacting with them. It's kind of what you want as a child watching Doctor Who. Sort of like, oh, I wish I could speak to the Doctor like that. And he didn't like speak to him as if he was dumbing down. It was all at their level as well, and you kind of got the best out of them as in that type of dialogue as well, with the children saying, when the doctor asked him why the children are coming back to London, and a lot of them were saying about sort of, well, reading between the lines, that they've come back because of their abusive adopters. So I wish that was kind of brought out a bit more. Like there's an extra scene where the doctor, I don't know, goes to one of the abusers and punches him in the face or something. I don't know, something along those lines. That would have been nice to have seen. Even though I don't do violence. But yeah, it was just all of that plus the ending of this episode and how the episode wraps up. When the doctor finally figures out what caused all this issues in the first place, and just watching it all sort of happen, the infamous everybody lives moment. It was just a vindication for the Ninth Doctor. This is the reason why he travels. This is the reason he does what he does. And particularly after all the events of the Time War and him still healing from the Time War, it felt like a bit of sort of a therapy of, maybe there is still good out there in the universe. Maybe there's still, you know days like these. It's a rarity for the Ninth Doctor, but it was such a joy to see, and it again just fell at the right time in the series one story arc. This is what I would love Doctor Who to go back to, comparing it to the most recent era of Doctor Who under the stewardship of RTD. I just want this back. As much as I've enjoyed season two for the most part, if we're comparing it, but it is a little bit apples and oranges at the moment. These moments are way sort of stronger, I feel, and more going to be more memorable when we're looking back at Doctor Who in 20 odd years' time, or 40 years' time if it was this particular two-parter. Still now, just reading like comments of people being scared of the gas wearing zombies. Are they going to be talking about this in Good Fortune for, say, Space Babies, or even to a certain extent like 73 Yards? I would hope so, but I don't know. I just feel like this is a bit more sort of memorable if we sort of compare the two. And if we wanted to compare special effects, I thought the special effects here for the Blitz and Rose being on that air raid balloon or whatever it is called, and then the German planes coming, German bombers coming. There was some really good effects on there. I also like the TARDIS chasing that capsule at the beginning of the episode as well. So, and that was without any sort of big Disney budgets either. So, it can be done. It definitely can be done. But are these episodes still scary? I would say so. But, horror is in kind of like the eye of the beholder in certain aspects. Some people might find things terrifying, well, there's might not. But I would say it's definitely got the nice sort of right tone of spooky family elements in there. Like I said, with the gas mask wearing zombies, the constant calling of "Are you my mummy?" and turning that into sort of like a repeated horror. But again, some of the sort of jump scare elements in here. There's not like loads, but I mean, the sort of the scary elements in these episodes, they used actually twice. So there was like a recording of "Are You My Mummy?" and then you just hear the tape flicker and the doctor just saying, "Well, that tape stopped ages ago, so who's saying 'Are you my mummy?'" And then they kind of used a similar trick again with the typewriting when the kids was typing, and then I think it was called John or something, and then Nancy says, "John stopped typing ages ago. He's over there. So who's typing now?" And it's the child again. So, you know, all those little elements there, it's fun scares, I would say. I'm going to give The Empty Child and The Doctor Dances a TARDIS rating of 8.5 out of 10. This is definitely Stephen Moffat at his best and a good blueprint into what his era would shape up to be in the future. I know a lot of people sort of probably, if you say Stephen Moffat episodes in the RTD era, in the first RTD era, they will probably say Blink. Don't miss this out either. Don't disregard Series 1. There's still people out there that say you don't need to watch Series 1, just go straight to the 10th Doctor era. Absolutely not. If you want to start from 2005 and do watch these episodes, because it's just a good, I mean, it's a great story arc, these 13 episodes anyway, but this is kind of like still at the foundation levels of Doctor Who and, you know, into the dirt, but you do get some really, you know, you get some roses coming out of the mud for these ones, pardon the pun. But yeah, everyone's on their A game in their performances. Some great special effects with the Blitz. Great horror elements, great comedy elements as well. With Dr. Constantine saying about the woman with the missing leg, it grew back. Have you miscounted? All that. I've ruined that joke. I do apologise. But the point is, if you haven't seen these episodes for a while, I do recommend that you check them out this Halloween and add that to your horror season. But what do you think of these episodes, my Whovians? Let me know in the comments below, and also let me know what has been your scariest Doctor Who episodes or stories. I would love to know your thoughts in the comments. But thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you've enjoyed this review. If you have, please like, share and subscribe. Hit the cloister bell for more notifications. Come say hello and follow me on Facebook and X. And do check out my other fantastic Doctor Who related content on Timey Wimey Review TikTok. And of course right here on the Timey Wimey Review YouTube channel. Thank you for your love and support as always. And as the good doctor once said, justice once, everybody lives!